All right, hello and welcome everybody. Welcome to the inaugural video on the Rush the Mound channel. And today we're going to talk about something very near and dear to my heart, and that is the Anaheim Angels and their offseason so far. Now, the Angels have been pretty busy this offseason, and we're going to run through all of their transactions. Not necessarily in order. We're going to start with the one that I think I have the most nuanced opinion on, and then we're going to work our way through and end with Yusei Kikuchi, which is the most recent and probably the most interesting to most people. Alright, so to kick things off, we're going to start with Travis d'Arnaud. He signed for 2 years, $12 million total, so $6 million a year. And you might be wondering, why do I find this one so interesting? And to be honest, when I first heard it, it was kind of like, yeah, that's cool, I guess. Especially after they traded Matt Thaiss, I was kind of curious, what are they going to do with the backup catcher spot? And they went out and signed Travis d'Arnaud. Now, when this first happened, it was cool. I was like, okay, this way we'll always have at least a solid stick at catcher. Both Ohapi and d'Arnaud are probably above average hitters at the catcher position. But at the same time, I wasn't wowed with this trade. Two right-handed catchers. d'Arnaud is good, but he's also getting older. It just wasn't. I wasn't in love with it. It wasn't bad, but I wasn't in love with it. But then I started to look at things a little bit more, and I've started to really like this move. And one of those reasons is not necessarily because of Travis himself. Obviously he's a factor. But when I started to look at Logan Ohapi a little bit more, I realized that he's in fact a reverse splits player. And reverse splits, if you're not familiar, I'm sure a lot of you are, but basically right-handed batters are usually better against left-handed pitchers. But so far in Ohapi's career, he's actually been better against right-handed pitchers, which is, somewhat atypical. I actually have some of the slash lines written down right here. So, Logan Ohapi so far in his career against right-handed pitchers, he's slashing .251 average, .301 on base, .443 slugging for a total of a .744 OPS. In his career against left-handed pitchers, he's slashing a .211 batting average, .309 on base, and .387 slugging for a total of .696 OPS. Not terrible, but definitely not good. Now you might be saying, those are his career numbers. His career's been pretty short. And last season was really his first full season. So yeah, let's look at his numbers from last season alone. In 2024, his slash line against right-handed pitchers in 411 plate appearances, he slashed .264 batting average, pretty solid, .310 on base, and .433 slugging for a total of .743 OPS. Pretty good, especially for a catcher. And then against lefties, in 111 plate appearances, his slash line is .167 batting average, .279 on base, and .313 slugging for a total of .592 OPS. Not very good. Now, I will say there's something slightly mentionable here. He does seem to be a little bit better against left-handed starters rather than left-handed relievers. But still, overall, he has been much better against right-handed pitchers. Now, when you compare that to Travis d'Arnaud, who has more traditional splits, let's look at his career. Against right-handed pitchers in his career, .242, .300 on base, and .412 slugging for a .712 OPS. Not terrible for a catcher. Against left-handed pitchers, however, .267 average, .336 on base, .469 slugging for an .805 OPS. That's really good. Now, Travis d'Arnaud is getting pretty old. That's for his career. So some of those numbers, it's like kind of take that with a grain of salt, maybe. But in 2024 last year, in 264 plate appearances against right-handed pitchers, .233 average, .296 on base, and .392 slugging for a total of .687 OPS. Not the best, but as a catcher, whatever, right? Now against left-handed pitching, .254 average, .325 on base, and .597 slugging for a .922 OPS. Now granted, that's a somewhat small sample size, 77 plate appearances. He's been better against lefties his whole career, so really, all signs point to Travis d'Arnaud still being a very good hitter against left-handed pitchers. And with Ohapi having reverse splits, this could be a very good kind of, I don't want to say platoon, because they're definitely not going to go full platoon. Ohapi's still going to play a majority of the time, I would think. I think they want to get the young, upcoming star catcher. I don't know why I did that. I don't want to seem like I'm disrespecting him. I like Logan Ohapi. And there's definitely an expectation that he could be a star. But, some games you might be able to get him some rest, to find him rest against lefties. Travis d'Arnaud will get in there and, eat against the lefties. That's who he likes to hit against. And then Logan Ohapi can just settle in against all the righties, face lefties here and there. Like I said before, he is notably better against left-handed starters than left-handed relievers, but still overall, he prefers hitting against righties, or at least that's what the data suggests, definitely. But yeah, I think this just really brings an interesting element to what the Angels can do at the catcher position. And then, like I said, they're going to want to have Ohapi in there not only against righties. They want him to get at-bats against, a lot of different pitchers. They want him in there a majority of the games. He's their cornerstone catcher moving forward, ideally. So he's definitely going to be in there against lefties, but Travis d'Arnaud does provide a good option at DH against lefties as well. Obviously, there's other players on the roster who's going to be DHing: Jorge Soler, Mike Trout, different guys on this team, but Travis d'Arnaud definitely provides a good option to DH against lefties. And, even the occasional DH spot against righties. When you need someone to get in there, he's at least a respectable bat to have there at DH, right? So that kind of brings us to, do I think this is a good signing? 2 years for $12 million, $6 million a year for Travis d'Arnaud. I really like it, actually. Now that I've looked at these numbers and I've looked at the splits, hitting wise, I think this is a really good contract for Travis d'Arnaud. And he is, I would say, a league average defensive catcher, sort of. So is Logan Ohapi. Travis d'Arnaud is maybe a little bit better just because of all the experience he has. Take it with a grain of salt, but, advanced stats aren't everything, but fielding runs saved. I think Ohapi was -2 last year, and Travis d'Arnaud was a +1, so that's a difference of 3. And, that's just one season sample size with these kind of stats. That's not very much. So I'd say they're both around average defensive catchers, with d'Arnaud being notably better at some things, and Ohapi, being a solid catcher. His pop time was pretty bad last year, but overall, he's not really hurting you from behind the plate. So now that we talked about Travis d'Arnaud, let's move on to Kevin Newman. And to be honest, when I first saw this signing, I wasn't confused. Like, I get it, infield depth, a pretty good defensive infielder. But I wasn't in love with it, similar to the Travis d'Arnaud signing. But then I remembered or realized that Neto's not going to be ready for opening day. He's going to be on the IL. And Kevin Newman will be a solid player to have in there, We got him on 1 year, $2.75 million. It's not like a long contract. It's not like we're married to him. I think this is a solid pickup. He is a sure-handed infielder that can play shortstop while Zach Neto is out. He's not going to amaze you with the stick. He's going to be a below-average hitter, most likely. But he's also not an awful hitter, I would assume he'll be somewhere around 90 OPS plus. And someone who can play a competent, decent, good shortstop and not be that bad of a hitter, a guy who's going to, average out maybe a single a game, But if they're playing good at shortstop, you'll take that. I think that's a decent player to have. Especially, he's not expected to be the starting shortstop this whole year. If that's what we were going into this year expecting, I wouldn't be too psyched about it. But being a guy who can come in, play good shortstop while Zach Neto's out, and then fill in the rest of the infield when needed, I think this is a good signing. 1 year, not a lot of money. You're really not hurt by this deal at all. Even if it doesn't work out, if he has a really bad hitting year, it's not like this hindered the team at all in any way. Just a few last notes on his defense at shortstop. I called him a sure-handed shortstop, and that's what he should be. He should be getting to the balls. He's making the play. His arm is not very strong. He doesn't have a cannon out there, but he's not going to be making a lot of mistakes. He's going to be making the plays that he should make. And as someone who's standing in, that's all you can really ask. He should be a positive defender for this team, and we could really use that. And speaking of good defensive infielders, that brings us to our next guy who will definitely benefit from a good defense behind him, and that's Kyle Hendricks. 1 year, $2.5 million. What are the Angels going to do with Kyle Hendricks, right? So, if you watched Kyle Hendricks pitch last year, you're probably thinking that he's washed, and I can't blame you for that. And I'm not going to try to convince you that he's not. He probably is. I think there's a very good chance, actually, that by the time opening day comes around, Kyle Hendricks might not be on this roster. But I will try to highlight some positives about Kyle Hendricks. What does he still do well at this point in his career? Now, he doesn't prevent walks like he used to, but he still has a relatively low walk percentage. He's not walking a ton of guys, right? Good control. He still has elite average exit velocity. He prevents hard hits, basically. He's elite at preventing the other team from getting hard hits. They don't hit the ball very hard against him that often. And he's still good at producing ground balls. Now, the Angels' defense was a little shaky sometimes last year, so you kind of got to wonder about that. But, we saw how bad Kyle Hendricks was last year, right? But these are at least a few positives that we can look at and be like, okay, it's not all gone. There's still something there. And what I really find interesting is that the Angels do not have a good track record of, getting the best out of their pitchers, right? We're probably have kind of been one of the worst teams at that over the last however many years. But this is Barry Enright's only second season as the pitching coach, I believe. So I do think I have to give him at least a little bit of grace. I can't act like it's all his fault that pitchers haven't been good on this team. He just came in. He's part of a new coaching staff, right? So give him a little bit of grace. We can look at what he did last year a little bit, but that's such a small sample size. And there are some positives and some negatives there. Soriano was really good. Tyler Anderson had a better season than I expected. But also, we didn't get a good year out of Sandoval. Also, he was hurt, though. Griffin Canning didn't have nearly as decent of a season as I hoped he could. And I don't blame Barry Enright for this. Suarez was not good, but I didn't really expect him to be. But yeah, overall, we got to give Barry Enright some more time. See what he's cooking up. See what he can do with these pitchers. Maybe he can get something out of Kyle Hendricks, although it's not something I'm counting on. I still think there's a very good chance that he will not be on this team. A month into the season, very good chance Kyle Hendricks isn't even on this team, in my opinion. But I would like to see him be successful. If he can do that, that would be really cool to see. Now, next we're going to talk about Jorge Soler. This was not a free agent signing. This was a trade. We traded Griffin Canning straight up for Jorge Soler. Griffin Canning was a player that I liked. Did not have a good season last year, but I would describe him as a very average pitcher with a pretty good glove. Not that a glove means that much for a pitcher, but, obviously he was bad last season. I was sad to see him go, but Jorge Soler, that's a real, legit major league hitter, which the Angels do not have a lot of. Now, where is Soler going to be playing for this team? Is he going to be in the outfield? I hope not. Is he going to be playing mostly DH? That's probably the best spot for him. But then I do kind of wonder who's going to be playing in the outfield, Is it going to be Trout, Ward, and Adele? Who's going to play center field? Is it going to be Trout? Not that Trout can't play center field. He definitely still can. But he has expressed, for the first time ever, a willingness to move to the corner. In the past, when asked, he's been like, no, I'm the center fielder. But for the first time this offseason, he has shown at least a willingness to be like, hey, maybe for my health and longevity, it'd be best if I move to the corner outfield position. But, Ward, Adele, and Trout, I mean, I guess Mickey Moniak, but honestly, with Soler on the roster, I'm having a hard time seeing a scenario where Moniak's still here. I know Ron Washington loves his Mickey Moniak, and don't get me wrong, I like Mickey Moniak too. He seems like a cool dude. And he has his hot streaks. He definitely gets hot at times. He also gets cold at times. It's kind of a big question mark for me, what's going on in the outfield. But Jorge Soler, regardless of where he's playing, hopefully at DH mostly. Obviously, he's going to stand in right field a couple games at least. But he should be a good hitter for this team. Over 11 years, he has, I believe, a 113 OPS plus. He's proven that he's a positive hitter in this league. He hit 46, 48 home runs back in 2019. Obviously, that was 2019. Since then, he had a 36 home run year a few years ago. Last season, he hit 21 home runs. So this is the kind of guy that if he gets the at-bats, he should hit at least 20 home runs for us, And also, he's pretty good at drawing walks. He's going to strike out a lot. Don't get me wrong. He's going to, whiff and strike out quite a bit, but he's also going to draw walks. He's gotten pretty good at that at this point in his career. So he should be good power, decent on base, hit for an average that's not abysmal, should be a good bat, a good stabilizing bat in this lineup. And the Angels could really use that. Sorry about that. My camera only records for a certain amount of time and then I have to reset it. But yeah, I like Jorge Soler. Should be good for this team. Last note on him, this isn't even really anything too analytical or that important. But just me personally, when we first traded for him, my first thought was, oh man, I hope that doesn't hurt Joe Adele's playing time. For better or for worse, I'm a big Joe Adele fan. I want to see him in the lineup. I know not everyone will agree with that, but I think he had a pretty good year last season. And you're gonna look at his stats and be like, "What are you talking about?" Home runs, good home run total, right? But you're gonna look at his batting average. I think it was like 207. You're gonna be like, "That's terrible." But hear me out, silver lining. He had such a bad slump in the middle of the season. Like, he started off hot. I don't know if you remember, but he started off pretty hot last season. He was looking good. Like, he might be the best player on the team. And then he had one of the worst slumps I've ever seen. The only one worse I might have seen is, like, Chris Davis with the Orioles back in the day. So, in a way, the fact that he was able to finish with a batting average above 200 is honestly impressive, considering how bad he was for, what was it, like a whole month? Maybe even a month and a half, 2 months? It was honestly impressive to me that he was able to get his batting average back above 200 because it had gotten so low. He finished the year strong. He started off hot, cooled down, insane, terrible slump, but then he finished pretty good. So I am excited at what we might get from Joe Adele moving forward. I was supposed to be talking about Jorge Soler, but I just couldn't help it. I love Joe Adele. Taylor Ward, too. Don't trade Taylor Ward. But yeah, finally, that brings us to the last guy, Yusei Kikuchi. 3 years, $63.67 million. So basically, $21 million a year for 3 years. Yusei Kikuchi. Now, this is an interesting signing. Yes, that's a lot of money. I think when this first came out, a lot of people were like, oh, that's an overpay. But then, a day or two went by, and then a lot of people were saying, actually, it's not an overpay. This is actually a very good move. This is an appropriate signing. If it is an overpay, maybe slightly by like 2-3 million, something like that per year. But I'm not going to focus so much on the money. If you wanted me to give you an answer like, oh, do I think it's an overpay for Yusei Kikuchi? It's like, sure, maybe a little bit, but honestly, if you want to bring in a pitcher to this team, you're not going to get him for a deal, right? No one's looking to take a pay cut to come to the Angels right now, right? So honestly, I think it's a really good amount, good deal for the Angels. Now, where it concerns me a little bit, Yusei Kikuchi has had, results-wise, a very rocky Major League Baseball career, right? There's times where he's looked really good. He had that All-Star season with the Mariners. That was with the Mariners, right? Not the Blue Jays? I don't know, but he had that All-Star season. I'm pretty sure it was with the Mariners. And then the second half of the season, he started to tail off. Looked really good in the first half and then tailed off kind of after the All-Star game. And then last season, best season of his career. He started the season off not too great, but then he finished really strong with the Astros. His peripherals were looking up. He was getting a lot of swings and misses. Pretty good strikeouts. He was throwing his slider a lot more. And this is where the Angels' pitching staff, pitching coaching staff, kind of comes into play again. Do we think the Angels will be able to get the best out of Yusei Kikuchi? Maybe. They might. We got some good stuff out of Tyler Anderson. But yeah, I think Yusei can come in and be a good pitcher for this team. Is he going to have insane numbers? I hear people talking about like, oh, is he the ace? If he is the ace, it might be by default, just because, we don't have a real ace. Obviously, if he goes out and has a really good season, like an ERA in the threes even, that would be... An ERA in the threes would be... I don't want to say more than I'm expecting, but that would honestly be, for me, really good. I think that would be a great season from Yusei. But one of the things where I do believe he brings a lot of value is that throughout his career, he has been a guy that goes out and makes his start every 5 days and can go relatively deep into games. He's going to go out there. He's going to pitch 6-7 innings, He doesn't miss starts very often. In fact, both last season and 2023, he made 32 starts. 2022, he made 20 starts, but he pitched in 32 games. Maybe he was dealing with some kind of... I think he just wasn't playing well, so they weren't starting him there. 2021, he started 29 games. 2020, he started 9 games, but that was the shortened season, so you can't fault him for that. There was only 60 games in there, and he started 9 of them. And then 2019, he started 32 games. This guy does not miss starts. He goes out and pitches every time you need him to. Now, obviously, someone is only an Iron Man until they get hurt. You never know what's going to happen. But this should be good for the Angels. This should be a guy who's going to be a stalwart in the pitching rotation. He's going to go out and pitch. He's going to do a decent job more often than not. And honestly, the Angels could really use a player like that. Do I think there's a world where this kind of blows up and it's like, oh man, he's not looking good out there. Why did he go to the Angels? Stuff like that. Sure, of course I do. Someone signing a big contract with the Angels and then forgetting how to play baseball would not be anything new. We've had Josh Hamilton, Anthony Rendon, Albert Pujols. But, we sign guys to contracts all the time, and then it's just kind of like, yeah, no, actually, we're done playing baseball. We don't know how to play anymore. But I am hopeful that Yusei Kikuchi can come in and be a very good pitcher for this team. It seems that the general consensus from, the people that I watch about baseball, they like this move. And that boost my confidence also, you know. When I saw this, I liked it. I thought this could be something good, but I wasn't 100% confident in my opinion of that. So seeing other people kind of agree and validate that, you know, is a little nice. Some closing statements on Yusei. Obviously, you saw him have success with his slider last season. How will the league adjust? Will they be ready for that? Will it not be as effective this year? So how much is he going to throw it? Are we going to have him throw it even more? Kind of keep it how he was doing it with the Astros. You know, I think he found something that's working, so hopefully don't tweak it too much. You know, don't fix something that's not broken. But if the league has kind of caught up with it, then maybe that's where you start to tweak things. And hopefully the Angels pitching coach staff can help Yusei have a good 3 years with the Angels. Oh, also, I forgot to mention this, but you know, if things aren't looking good for the Angels as a whole, but Yusei is able to have a good, productive year as a starting pitcher, or not even this first year, but you know, good first year, and then going into the second year, all this stuff. You know, a starting pitcher like that could be a valuable trade piece in the future. I'm not saying I want us to end up trading him. I'm just saying in a scenario where the team is kind of floundering a little bit and Yusei is succeeding with this team, it could be a valuable trade piece. But yeah, that's pretty much it for today's video. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you sticking around. It means a lot. If you liked the video, consider subscribing, leaving a like, maybe comment what you think. Do you like these signings and trade? Or do you not? Do you agree, disagree with what I was saying? You know, let me know. Don't be a jerk about it. Be, you know, somewhat civil at least, but just let me know your thoughts. I'd love to hear them. And thanks for sticking around. I'm hoping to get videos out, I want to say at least once a week. I might have even more here at the start because it's the off season and there's different things I want to talk about. But, you know, should be a lot of fun, guys. And also, I guess I'll just throw this out here. If you guys are into basketball, I do also have a basketball channel that isn't as new as this one. This is, you know, brand new channel. My basketball channel, I've been doing that for about a year. It's still a small channel, you know, under 300 subscribers, right? But, you know, I post basketball videos on there. I talk about the Mavericks a lot. But I also talk about other things. I'll drop the occasional video essay, you know, just different things about the NBA that I like. So yeah, that channel is Quintuple Overtime. I'll link it in the description if you want to check it out. If you don't, no hard feelings. Basketball's not your thing. Completely get it. But also, if you're looking to get into basketball, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, that's pretty much it for today, guys. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.